S. Is that the foundation? How are we going to state that, Sean? You're going to be the founder of the podcast and the foundation. How will you name it Vet SOS? Will it stay just Vet SOS or how will it work?
Right now, we're leaning more towards just Vet SOS because we did make Vet SOS podcast and LLC, but we're going to dissolve that and make the whole thing a 501(c)(3) and move forward with it that way. And most likely it'll just be Vet SOS, encompassing everything we do.
That's great. I mean, that's amazing because that's exactly the dream, the goal, everything. Now you're putting everything together. So 2025 will be a big year for Vet SOS. And what are you doing behind the scenes at the end of the year? I can't believe we're only a couple weeks away.
Paperwork, paperwork, paperwork. Using tools like AI and things like that to help me really flush out things, like the bylaws, the job descriptions, the mission statements, the business plan, things like that to really put everything in line. And of course, starting to work on the 501(c)(3) paperwork as well, and that whole process just to get everything moving forward and make it official so that we can really start moving into the nonprofit space and trying to bring in the right people to be a part of the team, whether they're an advisory board member or a board of directors or a sponsor or a partner, whatever that may be.
So explain to people that it's not as simple as I push a button and it's going to write all this stuff. This is the problem people don't understand about AI. It's not, it's this genius. It is, it needs to have direction.
Oh yeah.
Explain that a little bit. What you've been doing to put this all together. And it's a good tip that I'd love to share what I've been learning. I learned very quickly more and more tasks can be offset and an increased speed and efficiency. But ultimately, it's up to me, the human being, to see if I'm on the right track or wrong track. Because AI could be completely wrong on anything.
Oh yeah, and so I was taught this a long time ago back in high school that always proofread your work.
Love it.
So if you're typing, you may put a period in the wrong spot. The word may spell. Now with autocorrect on computers, it changes words all the time. So always proofread your work. The same principle applies to AI, and I would say maybe even more importantly to AI because it's going to spit out all kinds of great things, but you need to proofread it and make sure it's what you're looking for. You're going to want to make changes. I'm not a fan of people just using what AI spits out and making it their own. Use it as a tool to build what you're trying to build. It's amazing how quickly it can pull data and information for you and give you an idea because going through this I may type in something for veteran nonprofit bylaws, and it's going to spit out all these different things. And when I read through it, it gave me some ideas for things that I hadn't even considered when it came to the bylaws. So to me, it's just an amazing tool to help you really enhance what you're doing.
It is. And you got to say that it's amazing what it's doing now. I don't know if you saw ChatGPT. If the premium version has three different versions of what you should be using directions for. We're going to be speaking to on another podcast I produce with Muhammad, who's going to of Artilia, who's going to explain a little bit more. We're going to discuss each one of those breakdowns in ChatGPT. The situation is, guys, there has to be someone to program it. You, Sean, you've been around. Do you think this is almost like the machine world when, people in factories used to be humans and now it's machines? So the person who has to run the machinery, and that was about a movement about 15, 20 years ago. Is that kind of similar to what we're seeing with AI in a way?
It feels that way. It absolutely feels that way. And I know there's a lot of um, I don't want to say fear, but there's a lot of pushback, just like there was back then. This is a new step. This is a new world. Look at the dock workers. They're trying to bring automation into the docks, and now that this whole strike thing pending again. So there's definitely concern when it comes to job security and things like that. So trying to figure out how you make use of the current tools and technology to make your life and your work easier, but also so that you still have a career and things like that to move forward. So I would say it's very similar.
Let's go to the conversation style now. Let's go to Sean, specifically the conversations that can be developed with the AI. Like when you're coming up with the bylaws and different things, you're finding things on websites or ideas and plugging them in and then tweaking and developing. But it makes your life a lot easier as a founder to at least put the proper paperwork in place that probably would take years, not years, but 6 months to do, that you're able to do in hours. But then it's just a lot of tweaking.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I like to do my research. So I have bylaws from different organizations I'm looking through. I'm comparing what they're doing. Does it fit what I want to do? Does it make sense to me for the board? And using all those tools available. And then, of course, using AI to help, refine maybe some wording and go through and pull out some things. So it's a process. Um, but to me, it's a much faster process than it used to be, where you had to literally research everything and pull everything up and go page by page. Now you can pull in a lot of data and speed up that process a bit.
Speed it up to a level you can't even imagine
Yeah.
with AI. I mean, that's the big thing. So what are veterans talking about AI? What are the conversations, especially going in transition? How many would you recommend, especially if they're in the programming industry, to really understand the AI? What have you had in conversations with people? Do you think veterans are being educated enough in AI? I think it's something that maybe is really needs to be stepped up when they're making that transition. Because again, certain things are still the government. Things aren't as, technologically advanced in certain aspects. What are you seeing on that end?
So I would say that most of the veterans transitioning and things are probably a lot more savvy than I was.
Really?
I was very much a dinosaur when it came to social media and AI and all that stuff. And, so I'm trying to catch up as quickly as I can. And I'm very excited because in January, we have this new organization coming on the show called AIReadyVeteran.org. This organization is basically create a website that's completely AI based for just about every topic you can imagine when it comes to transition, spouses, starting a business, what have you. And it's completely free for the first year to veterans. You go on there and you just start clicking buttons, and it'll take you immediately over to something like Chat GPT. And then you're putting in the cues, and it's like PTSD, for example. If you're struggling with PTSD, you click the button, it takes you over there. And it'll immediately, the first thing it does is ask you your zip code, and it spits out 4 or 5 local organizations that you can contact immediately if you're in that severe type of case. So it's an amazing tool that I think is going to be a huge game changer for the transition space.
100%. It's going to be a huge game changer in so many ways. And, I don't know what's going to happen. Like everything's going to become that. That's just where it goes. Okay, you have a website, it's built, it's the strategy, it's the development. We talked about this in the green room. I think that more and more, I think the military does teach a lot more of higher order thinking skills than the classroom. Would you agree in a lot of
Oh yeah.
ways?
Oh yeah. I took several critical thinking classes when I was in the military. I mean, there's all kinds of, think tanks and things like that that involve military people, and some of the conversations you get into really just make you think. So I would 100% agree with that.
Right. And so I guess the conversation that you definitely have to look at is specifically how many people that are transitioning from the military, how we can educate them in AI, understand the opportunity they have, especially if they're going to get some sort of a pension to really work on it, to really create a dream for anyone if they have the technical knowledge. AI engineers. It's not a prompt engineer. Like I would consider myself a prompter. I just do prompting. I use, generative AI, but not the tech back end, writing code, all that stuff using AI. They're making millions of dollars a year. So it's really a great opportunity for anyone who's a computer programmer or anything to learn AI. It'll be interesting in these conversations when you run in these technical people, how many people from the military have a huge opportunity if they're
Oh
transitioning
yeah.
right now.
Oh yeah. With the big push over the last couple of years for cyber, and now you got the AI thing. No doubt that's going to be a big push as well. And the military has a lot of benefits in that sense where they really can teach you some amazing things and really set you up for success.
I would jump on in a second. If there's two areas I would invest in right now, if I had it would be AI, it'd be cybersecurity for sure, and robotics. Because if you did not see some of these movies where robotics, what are you thinking about once robots end up in the front line? And this is something already where what your job was in the military was you kind of directed the front line in ways, right? Is that kind of what you did when you
Uh,
were?
I guess indirectly. I mean, because what we did is we processed intelligence to provide it to the warfighter so that they could make decisions and better be prepared for what they were going to do mission wise. I wouldn't say we directed them. I mean, that's always the command
You're just
decision, but
you're kind of seeing what's happening when they're on the front line.
right, and trying to provide them the best overview so that they're as prepared as they possibly can be when they go into an enemy situation.
When do you think there'll be robots in the front lines and less people that will
Well,
be?
I think it was the movie Minority Report. Wasn't that the movie where he was moving stuff
Yeah.
around like this? I mean, I'm still waiting for that to happen to where that is like standard. Um,
You know that Elon's launched his first robots,
oh yeah,
right? Yeah,
oh yeah,
for the houses. So I mean, it's coming. So that's where AI, this is where people have to understand generative AI with robots. What does that mean? What job can I, and I think this is the cool thing about transitions and all that, Sean, is that for sure, is look at all these organizations and how they're going to have to hire the greatest talent that are going to come from the military giving all the things because of directives. The other thing that you guys bring to the table, which I've talked to so many people in the military, you're reliable, right? You're
oh
going to
yeah.
show up on time. That's big, right? In this world today.
Oh, absolutely. I showed up 10 minutes 10 minutes early for a doctor's appointment. And then I get mad if I got to wait in the waiting room. It's like, yeah, I was here early.
My father taught me that always. God rest his soul. He was in the military, graduated from the Naval Academy, number two in the Naval Academy years ago. But he always told me, be always early for everything. And that's what I try to do. And then
Oh
you
yeah.
have to have structure, discipline, and keep going. And these are important skills necessary to combat PTSD if you have any, to combat all those different things. So the best place we can go, Sean, is where?
At sospodcast.com. You can
All
find
right.
everything right there.